Yep. So
That's not that far. It's
no. It's not even it's not even a half round of racing. So yeah.
check course.
Yeah, knock on wood. Somewhere, I hope.
Somebody's making too much money here.
What do you think of that, Tony? You think about this all day?
Pretty neat. I bet you're doing
Right.
Oh, did he? He just accepted. Hey. Yeah, I include him in on everything.
Right. Because there's a reason the casino votes here.
But you know, for me, you leave me out.
If you could
I'm the record
remember,
holder.
you could remember, Tony, what they started with and what they have now. They was dang near busted when they came in. Argosy was. They didn't have hardly nothing. Look what they got now.
If you put something in here, it's worthwhile.
Well, I got something to say. I do believe.
You know?
Okay, then.
Now Hollywood. Didn't they buy Belterra? Or merge? There's something with Belterra, yeah.
That's fair. That's fair. That's fair.
Pretty tricky.
You ain't without losing. Hey, look who moved.
Mean mug, what we call it.
He's not coming.
The territory's looking better up there.
Thanks.
Yeah.
As soon as our attorney has a seat, we'll get this started. Bring to order the Lawrenceburg Redevelopment Commission meeting of October 12th, 2018.
Executive Director Brian Messmore.
Present.
Chairman Tony Abbott.
Here.
Vice Chairman Randy Abner.
Here.
Secretary Dennis Hutchins.
Present.
Member Owen Cross.
Here.
Member Paul Seymour Sr.
Present.
School Board Member Brian Johnson is absent, and City Attorney Del Weldon.
Here.
All righty. If everybody's had a chance to look at the minutes from the previous meeting, I'll take a motion to approve or
So moved.
a motion to approve by Dennis. I have a second.
Second.
Second by Owen. All in favor?
Aye.
Minutes approved. Moving on to announcements. Does anybody have any announcements from the board? I got you up next. Go ahead.
I was reminded of something earlier today. You'll remember during the last council meeting. Council asked that the Redevelopment Commission would agree to begin, and recommended that we would vote to proceed to begin the bond process for bonding money for the value of the Civic Park. That was discussed in the council meeting, and they are sending that to us with the desire that we, as the commission, would begin that process.
They have to do that because that's redevelopment has.
Do we have anything to look at, or are we just talking about it we're done talking about it, just consider it?
Now we need a motion to do the process of it, Dennis.
How about the cost? Do you need a motion that goes with the motion?
Well, in general, you're bonding the
Is it 6 million?
million and the debt service, and then council and the board would have to agree on payment terms, and, you know, you can jump in here anytime
I'm fine
when
with
we
that.
get to that point. But the consensus was that we would finance the park through a bonding mechanism to earn that.
So what we're in essence doing is starting the bonding procedure.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yes.
I'd make a motion that we put that forward.
I have a motion by Dennis. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Second by Randy. All in favor?
Aye.
Against? Unanimous. All right.
I do apologize for not putting that on there. I kind of took a whooping today for that, so.
Yeah, it was supposed to be on here. That's my fault.
Randy, you were
I did
pretty
whip
hard
you.
on me.
No.
My fault too. I should have reminded you. Moving on to new business. Dennis, did
About
you want?
financials, nothing?
Do we need a financial report? I'm sorry, I skipped it.
I'm just asking
All
if we want
yours,
to do
Kelly.
that or
Hey,
not.
you don't want it.
Do we really want to know?
We want it.
It's your call. All right. The balance for redevelopment as of October 15th, 2018 is $2,079,470.40. And after committed project monies, the remaining balance is $1,147,106.13.
Alrighty. Now moving on to new
I've
business.
decided to wait until Brian.
And Mr. Messmore, Urban Fast Forward.
All right. Well, the board has had the opportunity to review the contract for Urban Fast Forward. I believe that all changes and concerns were addressed in the adaptation of that contract, and you have it. And as stated previously,
It's Olin.
Blame you.
Aye.
For him.
who is that guy?
You hear that? I heard that.
Don't know.
So, as stated previously, going back to the Urban Fast Forward, that it is my recommendation, and I'm certainly behind it, and that we proceed tonight with a vote. And my recommendation that we would move forward with Urban Fast Forward to help provide and create the best possible outcomes for the properties that we have located around and adjacent to the Civic Park here in beautiful downtown Lawrenceburg.
Wait, I have,
Nope.
I have some comments first, please. I spent the weekend going over the new contract that was supplied by Dell's partner. And in the executive session that we had, one of the points that was hammered over and over and over was that we didn't want Urban Fast Forward to have an exclusive, that we wanted to be able to have other people come before us, and it was reinforced that that would not be a problem, okay? The new contract does not address that at all. I mean, I've read it and read it and read it, and one of the major points we had in our session was the fact that we want, I'm only going to take a couple of minutes, but I want to say this. I've been coming to redevelopment for over 12 years, in one fashion or another, since we bought the Dearborn Savings Bank. We lived up on the hill. I started coming. That podium has always been an opportunity for someone to come into this chamber and to try to get the attention of redevelopment and the city of Lawrenceburg that they have an idea about something. And their entrepreneurship or suggested things that we would approach us and pitch us on an idea and a concept. And we're not talking about RFP quality concepts. We're talking about an idea. I know because I pitched a couple over the years. And if we get a positive response from redevelopment, you go back and you take it to the next step and you bring it back again if you get the encouragement from redevelopment to do that. This park over here has become a major issue with many of us in the city government as well as redevelopment and citizens. And we bought a lot of property over there. Dale, I know I'm sounding like I'm repeating myself on this, but we spent a lot of money on the property over there we had an idea for the idea. I don't want our podium blocked out by somebody that wants to do something, and then they can't get to the podium because it might interfere with Urban Fast Forward's ideas or a prospective client that she has that it doesn't fit in. I want our podium to always be open to that spirit, and I think it's important. I was out in that audience, guys. Tony, you were sitting at the chair as chairman. I was in that audience when redevelopment handled the convention center. Redevelopment was in charge of the convention center. They put it in. This ended up to be almost $60 million. So I kind of get the feeling that maybe people in town don't think we're smart enough, or maybe somebody doesn't think we're smart enough to do it. I think we've got a lot of help. I think we've done a good job. We've got Maxwell sitting here in front of us. think they're doing a great job on the park. I just, the word exclusive is not in there. There's not a paragraph in there.
It's not exclusive, it's not exclusive.
Dell, just let me finish, please. Yeah, I'm just looking at you because I asked to have something in there to protect us, that somebody could come to this podium. And I'm not confident at all with this contract that they would be, but not be boxed out. So my feeling is, before we go forward, I think she's probably great at what she does. I'm going to say it out loud. I'm in favor of using the woman.
Dennis, it's not exclusive. I don't know.
Let me finish, please.
All right, guys.
Let me finish. I'm not being offensive to anybody, and I want to be able to finish. Is that a problem,
No.
Mr. Chairman?
Dennis, no, it's fine, go on.
Let me finish. I want us, if we want to use her, why can't we go back, Brian, we can authorize Brian to go back and renegotiate with her. We'll pay her for the jobs as they come along, or the individual project that go along, we'll pay her a commission. Why do we have to bring somebody in and put them on a retainer for these services? And I think it's going to backfire on all of us. I really believe that. I'm very concerned about it, and I'm going to sleep a lot better. Brian, you don't look happy right now, and I'm sorry. But I'm going to sleep a lot better getting this off my chest. Now I'm done.
All right, now, let me say something.
All right.
I don't see anything in here where it says that it's exclusive to her, that she has exclusive rights to the properties. That doesn't say that in here. So how does that stop anybody from coming in here wanting that, if they want to pitch a project to us? I'm just kind of looking at the other side, Dennis. You're saying that she's getting exclusive rights. I'm saying I don't see that in here.
I made reference to the fact that we're not in, this body is not in control of our office on a daily basis. We have a director for that and a staff for that, okay? And I want some assurance, okay, that if somebody comes to me and they say, gee, I couldn't even get in there because Miss Kathleen Norris said that they've got that earmarked for somebody else. I'm just giving you a hypothetical.
Right.
All right? And maybe it's far-reaching, but maybe it's not.
You want to make sure our door's always open for anybody
Always
that comes
open.
in here.
Okay? That podium is instrumental in the foundation of redevelopment, and it's got to be open to people. It bothers me. I would like to recommend, actually, I'd like to make a motion before we go any further, that we have Brian, we authorize Brian to go back and negotiate for us, that we hire her on anything she wants to bring forward, we'll work out a commission settlement that satisfies her. But not on the whole project. I mean, according to this contract, she's in charge of everything.
That's not true at all.
It certainly reads that way,
No,
Del.
it doesn't.
Well, Del,
If I may I'm going to do a very brief summary of the most likely circumstance that this service would provide us. Okay, first of all, we've advertised locally.
so my motion dies?
Well, wait a minute.
Well, I've
Didn't
asked
make
to
a full
speak.
motion.
If you want to ask him to tell me to be quiet for a minute, I'll do that.
Yeah.
We've listened. Let's listen to him. Let's get everybody's opinion out, and then we'll see what motions we'll make. Is that all right with you, then?
Fair enough, fair enough.
All
That's
right.
fair.
Go ahead.
Okay. So, since this thing started, we've always talked about, advertise locally and perhaps look around regionally to try to find maybe, bigger, maybe better, more sustainable businesses that have more capital, more experience than maybe some of the local interest would provide. So we've always kind of had that discussion as we stumbled along. So we finally got to the point where we're to this point where we've advertised locally, and we're now trying to agree on whether or not to proceed with this sort of regional look. So the first part of the regional look would be probably a work session for us to sit down together as a group and say, what kinds of things are we looking for in these properties? What interests us? What do we think? And along with that would be probably some analytics about what kinds of restaurants, what kinds of entertainment venues do we have or not have? What may or may not be part of what we suggested as those types of venues. So we have this collage of things on the wall that we've all created together. So we kind of have a general agreement and understanding of where we're going, you know, what kinds of things we want, what fits in best locations. Got a little bit of market analysis on what kinds of things may or may not be successful here. So then we go out and do some regional work, and we're looking, you know, we do some, you know, some knock on doors and find some folks around town, around the region, and say, hey, are you interested? Here's what we have. At the same time that's going on, we can still be getting proposals in from anybody who's interested, and those would go in the stack, and they would fit into those logical locations where those park properties are, as we indicated. We want a family restaurant with a bar and craft beer selection here. We want maybe a coffee shop here, maybe a flat-out brewery here. Whatever it is we come up with. So we have all those, and this individual, this firm, helps us try to locate the pieces to that puzzle. And while doing so, the firm helps create business plans, acceptable business plans that we would agree to. Deals, however they are. We would discuss those together, openly, about how those fit into our original concept. What's available out there, what's not. And we would have those discussions until we figured out those pieces of the pie that fit the best, that benefit the city the most, hopefully, which would, in the best case, cost us the least and be sustainable. So, I mean, that's kind of the process we would be going through. So there's nobody, I don't know, there's nobody excluded. There's nobody ramming it down our throats. I think it would be a very interactive way to create the most and best possible circumstances for those properties.
But the final answer would lie here.
Lie right
Correct.
here.
She could bring us anything she wants to bring us, but we have to
Bring
pass it
us a restaurant, bar, brewery, and if you guys decide you don't want it and you'd rather have a pastry shop, you vote for the pastry shop.
But you're not excluding anybody else from coming in here without dealing with her.
That's correct.
Well, I think there was some rumors running around, Brian, that people was talking to you and we didn't know anything about it on some things. There was some rumors, so I'll just throw that out there. And without them being here to talk to us.
What is it with
So
Seymours and
we're just
phones?
gonna leave the door open so they can come here and talk to us. Is that all right with you? If somebody, let's say for instance, they want to start a construction company, these three down here, they want to come up and talk to us about putting a business in downtown somewhere, they can talk to us.
What kind of insurances can we have that anybody that calls your office that we're gonna know about?
They have to, well, I mean, I think there's a couple things
That's what
going
I'm
on
trying
here.
There's a
If they're-
point to,
If they're interested in the properties around the park, they have to respond with with an RFP.
right.
Oh, can we address that? The RFP that we put together and send out requires a lot of buttoned-up stuff.
That's correct.
A lot.
That's
okay?
correct.
What we're doing is precluding what I talked about originally in my thoughts. Somebody that wants that. For example, the Hebron Grill. They're dying to get in the firehouse. We all know it, but we've never had them in this room. They've never been in this room.
Because we haven't accepted any RFPs. We said we weren't gonna
No,
deal
no,
with
no, no.
anybody
They
till we
don't
had.
have, they're not gonna fill out an RFP to that level. The RFP that we sent out, Tony, Brian just admitted, is very specific, requires all kinds of financial information. And listen, there's a lot of people that aren't gonna go through those steps to come here for the initial phase. To go forward, they will have to fill that out if we're interested in what they have to say.
And what we have done so far is said that this is a guideline, fill it out to the best of your abilities. And, you know, where you can't, you know, you don't, I mean, having trouble, call us. You know, if you're not gonna fill a certain port out, just put, you know, not applicable. And, you know, it doesn't mean we can't vote for them later.
Have they been sent out?
It's been advertised and we've had one response so far.
Locally, it's been advertised.
One place, not,
Only one place?
Only one.
not in the tri-state area.
So anyway, let me back up. So I mean, I just tried to paint you a picture of how this, it'll come together. We'll decide as a group where we think these good things should be and what kinds of things. We'll add in a little bit of expert sort of opinion and some market analysis to make sure we're not, trying to shove a square peg in a round hole just from a market perspective. And then we'll go out and try to find those kinds of things that we'd agreed on we wanted. We want a family restaurant. Okay, I'm going to drive over to Heaven Grill. I've emailed them twice. I'll go over and sit down with them. I'll take the RFP. We'll fill it out. I'll bring it back, and I'll hang it on the wall underneath that restaurant. And we'll continue to do that until we find the right mix. Things that support each other. One of the things, for example, is the Hebron Grill may be interested here, but they may not be so interested if they knew that another similar restaurant was trying to get in here. I think part of the strategy is to find things that complement each other and that provide a wide variety of things for our residents and people who visit our community. So, I mean, that's the other part. You try to find things that complement each other. And then you rank them probably based on the value of the deal and the sustainability of the business.
How many properties do we have available right now around the Civic Park?
Pardon me?
How many properties do we have available around the Civic Park currently?
We have 3 buildings and 1 vacant lot that are adjacent. We also probably have a burnout lot that we would probably throw in the mix. So, I mean, that's a very general, soft
We have
picture
another
of
lot, too. We've got a
probably the
corner lot.
process.
We have a corner lot right here. That's close enough.
Maybe if somebody came to us and showed interest in our town and wanted to put a restaurant, maybe they would become the building block. Maybe we wouldn't have to worry about offending some other person or some other restaurant. Maybe we can accept them and work around it and help them.
But, okay, we agreed, this board agreed a long time ago, we weren't gonna listen to nobody until we had our RFPs out. And that way it gave everybody a fair shot at
I
the fair
wasn't
time.
at that meeting.
But yep, we absolutely talked about that.
I
We
was
were
not at that meeting.
Well, then you missed it. We said we weren't gonna talk
I
to
haven't
anybody.
missed one meeting yet.
Well, then, I don't know. I'm sorry, Dennis, but we
haven't
decided
missed
that.
one meeting
We
yet.
weren't gonna do anything till we got RFPs out that gave everybody an even chance. We weren't gonna talk to somebody 2 months ago and give them a property, and then this month, we're going out with RFPs for the rest of them. We
Guys,
said-
anybody else remember it my way, or is it a different way? Just curiosity.
Well, I think.
No, I'm
my-
just curious, Brian.
What's that? Yeah. Right. Tony's right.
Now, that's an argument we don't need to get into, okay? We're just trying to
I
do the
didn't
right
bring it
thing.
up.
Tony was, he was right.
You're the one.
I didn't bring
All
it
right,
up.
Dennis, all right. That's what we decided, though. We said we weren't gonna deal with
I'm
anybody.
not being a problem. I'm
Okay.
asking questions.
All right. We said we weren't going to deal with anybody until we got RFPs. So he cannot go to Hebron Grill and talk to them. They have to fill out an RFP, and they don't have to fill the whole thing out, Dennis. We did a bid today where they didn't fill out the financial statement, but if they got the bid, they would do the financial statement. Just give us an idea of what you're going to do with the RFP and turn it into us so we know what's going on, know who we have. And everybody has a fair shot all at the same time.
So it's not possible for Brian to go back and renegotiate with her on the terms.
I'm not talking about that. I'm just talking about we weren't going
That's
to deal
where
with.
we're going with this right now.
I'm just talking about you talking about that Hebron Grill. We
Let's
should have been
forget
dealing
about
with
the
them.
Hebron Grill
Okay,
for
let's
a
forget
second and
about
go
it.
back to the issue at
All right.
hand.
And my point on this, like your point was, it doesn't show exclusivity. They're saying it's not exclusive to them. Anybody can come to us with the project, fill out the RFP, send it in here.
Well, we can get rid of her if we need to. You know, we don't have to have her here. If she's not up to what we think she's doing, we'll send her on her way.
We need to put a foot forward and get moving on this, or next year we'll be
I
sitting
don't know
here
what's
talking about
wrong
the same
with
thing.
consulting. She can consult for us on a job-by-job basis. I don't know what's wrong with that.
I don't know if you.
I do want to say one quick thing. I just want to drop back just a
It's
second.
unreasonable, Randy.
I don't see where it says it's exclusive. It doesn't say. It says she will assist the city in downtown planning.
Some people don't want to come right to town and right to the podium. They would rather come and talk, sometimes in confidentiality, just to feel things out,
walk around the town, talk to some people. Some people who are genuinely interested don't
Not
want to
denying her the
rush.
right to do that.
Pardon me?
We're not denying her the right to do that.
Well, I'm not talking about urban fast forward. I'm talking, the comment was made about Hebron Grill coming to the podium. What I'm trying to say
I used it as an example.
is
Brian, that's
that
all.
there are, well, there's been several references to discussions that not everybody's aware of. And that's, there are some people who come to town who want to walk around and aren't ready for their name to be in the public for their own business reasons, competitive reasons. They're still trying to feel things out, figure out what possibilities exist. We're not talking down to dollars and cents here, but we might be talking in very general terms what's possible. So those discussions are pretty natural and fairly common. And sometimes those people just want to know who owns some property around town and don't want anything to do with us. And those, quite frankly,
Well, when
are
you
the
put
ones
an
we...
RFP out and it has the properties highlighted with a chart and everything else and describes them, they've got the information. You just said they don't know which properties are.
Not just those properties, Dennis. There's other parts of the community that people
Give
come
you
to
that.
visit
Give you
and want to
that.
talk about. And there's a high level of trust there to get to a certain level before they make a no-go decision.
Can I say something?
That's Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead.
I mean, first of all, to me personally, it doesn't matter if we use urban fast forward or not, honestly. You know, I think it would be a giant missed opportunity, but you guys are
You think we
redevelopment.
should then?
Well, can I talk, Dennis?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, you interrupted me
All right,
twice. So.
stop.
Okay. You know, whatever.
Stop.
Well,
Continue on.
and this is an example of the negativity that our city doesn't need. And
Now,
a
don't
lot
do
of,
that.
I'm the negative guy?
this is an example.
Guys, I'm not going to listen to arguments. Now, each one has your turn to talk. You've had yours. You do yours now.
All right.
Don't talk about him. Talk what you want to do about the project.
Thank you.
Sure. My point is that it shouldn't be negative at all. This is a very positive development. And this is a group that is, Urban Fast Forward is a group that develops historic downtowns and makes them viable, makes them sustainable, makes a long-term difference. And Urban Fast Forward approached us. We didn't approach them, I think is one of the biggest keys here, because they saw the opportunity that we have in the city of Lawrenceburg that we have now that we've never had before. The city is different now than it's ever been. And that's a product of everyone's work coming together. And that's a product of 20 years of having gaming revenue and trying to do the right thing with it. However, I would argue that with this particular issue, which is bringing in retail, restaurants, and having that downtown thriving Main Street, it is such a difficult thing to do. It really is like catching lightning in a bottle. And to have an opportunity to have an expert come in and just advise you, not tell you what to do, not take any control away, not be exclusive. This contract's not exclusive in any ways. And you know that she's already, Urban Fast Forward has already reduced their rate, restructured their fee. The contract is the contract, and you can accept it or reject it. But the opportunity that we have is an opportunity that can make a change that will be enjoyed by generations of downtown Lawrenceburgers. And to not take it advantage, and I guess my biggest point would be, why not? Why not try? Why not say, okay, you've come to us, you've said this is a special community, this is going to be the next wonderful greater Cincinnati community. That's what this person has said to us. And this company has put in a lot of work over the last year for free with no promises, no guarantees. The contract, in addition to being non-exclusive, has no promises, no guarantees. Mr. Messer was right. We can reject everything she brings to us, but why wouldn't we just say, let's just try this, in addition to the other things that we're trying, and have this company that has been successful. It's proven they have developed not just over the Rhine, not just Blue Ash, but other historic downtowns that are like ours. They get it. They know that it's important to keep your charm, to keep your character, to not go in and take everything out and build new stuff, to say, what's the story of Lawrenceburg? Who are we as a community? Because we work so hard for not ourselves, but for everyone else, not just the people who live here now, but the people who are going to live here. So when someone who has a company that has made all these amazing, wonderful things happen, and you guys have all gone there and seen them for yourselves, when they say, hey, I want to try to make that happen in your city, then why not? Why not try? I'm not saying I can promise it's going to work. I'm not saying that I can guarantee anything, but I think if we don't at least try, then we're not doing our job.
Other comments? I'm going to be sorry for this. Thatch, and then Mr. Lawrence. And anybody else from the audience? That's it. 1 minute.
All right.
Tick tock, tick tock.
Months ago, the lady come in and made a presentation, and y'all decided, ma'am, politely, you're more than welcome to bring us any ideas you have. And you made it clear. Well, that wasn't good enough for somebody. Somebody, you know, somebody wants her in here. A couple days ago, you had an executive session. I don't think it was a good executive session. I'm pretty sure the reason why that executive session got had is to keep somebody from me from coming in here and voicing my opinion.
That's absolutely wrong, Satch.
No, that ain't absolutely
That's
wrong,
absolutely
Tony.
wrong.
Here's what I've been told, and you're included in this. Here's what I've been told, and you're included in this. We don't have boards smart enough to make these decisions. Now, I'm going to tell you something, guys. We made the decision. You think about the park. You think about the decision we made on the park. I think it was a good decision. You think about the Scudder building and the Thomas building. Were those popular? I think they were good decisions. I think that we're going to see that this park's going to be a good decision, and I can tell you something. I've lived in this town all my life, and I see how hard people are working on this thing, and I don't want it taken away from me. I don't need anybody to help me decide. I know what needs to go in them buildings, and I think everybody else in this room knows too. And my point is you want to make it even. You want to pay her a monthly salary and give her a commission, but yet when the next realtor comes to town, are you going to offer the same deal to them? You can't afford to. You got other people in this town. If you want to do something, put it in 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 realty hands. Put one of them in hers. Let her see what she can do. I got nothing against this lady. But I also remember to your point about what we wasn't going to deal with anybody, but I can vaguely, strongly remember the point of, I want somebody in here making a presentation. That's been going on for months. I can remember Brian put together the RFQ, and it never went out. He was ready to send it out. You know, I've been told, hey, this is government. You know how it works. We're government. I don't work like this. Just because it's government doesn't mean it's got to take months and months and months. We are the government, so we can work at any pace we want. But what I want you guys to think about is we've had people come in here for years, and we've paid them money to give us advice. Where's it ever got us? Hell, we had this last bunch come up there to Ivy Tech, and they would ask for weeks and weeks and weeks at a time, and meeting after meeting. What do you guys think? What do you want? What do you need? What do you need? And by gosh, $100,000 later, we got a booklet telling us everything we need, and it's what we all said we needed. We can do it. We don't need to pay somebody a fee to do what we ought to be doing. We all got put here. We can make decisions, whether they be right or wrong, And we should know this town. We grew up in this town, Tony. Do we have to have somebody come in here and tell us what we need to do on this? Do you think we've been doing a pretty good job?
Are you asking me a question? I'll answer that.
You think we do?
I think we need business contacts. We need bigger business contacts. We don't need.
I could get on the phone right now and dial a man up that's been trying to make a presentation to us for 4 months.
Well, he can when he does the RFP. Nobody is stopping
2 months ago.
That's right, because they haven't been out. It hasn't been ready. Now they're out. Now.
Whatever her name is, and they've been 3 to 4 months trying to figure out how to get her back in here, and there ain't no
Turned down. We just want to know how much it was going to cost us.
Why should we pay somebody to do a duty that we can get from any other realtor in town for nothing?
Them other realtors don't have the contacts that she has. This is what she does. She did over the Rhine. She's done a great job in the city. Now I'm on her side here now, which I was trying not to be, but when you keep beating it down, then I've got to say something too.
That's fine.
The best thing in the world for us to do is hire this woman, because she will bring us some good restaurants in for our town. She'll have them there.
You guys are going to have a vote to make.
It won't be my buddy's Rick Friend's restaurant. I want him to move down here too. And that's what we'll be if we don't have a professional in here. Now, your time's up and his time's starting.
All right.
Bud, we are still buddies, aren't we?
Wow. I'm up here as a concerned citizen of Lawrenceburg. Listen to this spiel going on about such a great company that's going to come in here and market some properties. First of all, who negotiated this contract? I'm asking the board here. We got 1, 2,
Our director
3,
did.
4,
Our director
5.
did, and he brings it here for our approval.
On October the 17th, 2018 at 5 o'clock, you had an executive session. What was that executive session for? Because your posting said contract negotiations. So if you didn't negotiate a contract, first of all, you just had an illegal meeting. And it sounds to me like you didn't negotiate that contract.
We said we didn't. I'm saying it's an executive session. It's an executive session. You're not allowed to say what's going on in an executive session, and you know that very well.
You can't say that you negotiated this contract. I believe you don't know what you're talking about if that's the case.
That's fine.
Okay? Now I'm going to ask
But I can't tell you
I'm
what
going to
we
ask
said
this
in there.
board how much gaming revenue this city received in 2017. You know, Mr. Sir?
No, I do not.
You know, sir?
I wasn't here.
You know?
It was $2.5 million.
Total
We did
gaming
$5
revenue.
million. I don't know the total. I'm just telling you some of them I do know. But what does that have to do with this?
Because you're spending our money. Our money. These people right here.
That's right.
$18.1 million is what 2017 gaming revenue. Look at the budgets passed by the city, the continued spending. If this company is so great, why they want a check up front?
Because
if they're great, they don't need a check up front. They can sell stuff and get paid after the fact, if they're great. What it is, Lawrenceburg's got dollar signs. Wrote all over them. All you guys do is pay out, pay out. It doesn't matter if it's council or what board. It's if you can't get it if you don't spend money. That's false. You can do a lot of things with very little if you really get out and work at it. And, not to throw you under the bus, 3 or 4 occasions I brought to this man to buy a piece of property and build a building and bring 15 to 20 jobs, but it ain't good enough to come before this board, so there you go.
Any other audience comments?
Ms. Kreider has her hand up in the background.
Please make it quick, Pat. I'm dying up here.
You know, I've been around here for a lot of years. I was in politics at one time. I'm out of it. I will tell you, I'm glad that I'm out of it. I love my job. I love the downtown. I eat, sleep, and breathe it. Because my father-in-law was such a fortunate man, we ended up having to buy property that he bought because my mother-in-law couldn't take care of it. So we have 5 pieces of property. Okay, most of our is in this property down here, okay? I've never let that bother me. The only thing I've really cared about is this town getting better and raising the bar. The times when this town has actually started to climb the ladder is when we raise the bars. Okay, gaming, I can tell you, they laughed at us thinking we could get gaming here. We got it, and we got the best contract of any town in this whole state. People fought the event center. Oh, no, that wasn't going to work. Well, you ask the merchants downtown about that event center and that hotel and how that's working. And here's what I see when I sit back, and this meeting is a perfect example. And we're coming on election year, folks, and this is what's going to happen. Everybody is going to have their favorite for the firehouse. Everybody's going to have their favorite for the other piece of property. What I'm going to watch is what I've seen time and time again, and it is ugly. People are going to choose sides. They're going to be becoming election issues. Who gets this piece? Who gets that piece? Oh, I'm in favor of this one. Let's back this one. That is what you are going to have. Unless you have someone who can take all of those proposals and look at them in a reasonable fashion. Look at the numbers. Look at what is to your advantage. Mr. Lawrence is right. You've been taken advantage of in the past. I am not so sure that without some help, you may be taken advantage of again. These properties have been around here. For whatever reason, local people have either chosen not to invest because they're not interested or they don't have the money. When you can bring in money from outside this region, and let's face it, we don't have a whole lot of wealthy people sitting here with money to invest. When you bring people in from outside of this region to invest, you are bringing money into the town. They may not expect you to give them anything. A lot of local people are going to want something. Oh yeah, it's a city. Well, we should get $500,000 from him for this project. People coming from the outside might have a totally different expectation, but you close the door on that. And I know, I've watched you all, you have been so careful about all the decisions you've made, about wanting to make that park the best thing and developing everything around it. This is your chance. Is it going to cost you money? Yes. But I would say let's look at the investment that you already have. Let's make these good decisions, not political decisions, not a political mess in an election year. And I am very concerned about that. I don't want to see that happen to this town. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman. Again, I'd like to reiterate. All I suggested was that we empower Mr. Messmore to go back and try to negotiate some sort of an agreement that we don't have to hire her, that we could pay on a job by job. Now, I was accused of being a negative person by our attorney. I don't appreciate it. But I'm going to tell you this. Pat's right. In part of this, she's 100% right on. There's political influences, but I don't think this board has been influenced by anybody to this point. I don't think I have. I don't think Mr. Messmore has. Randy, all I was asking for was I didn't say she's not great at what she does. As a matter of fact, I said I don't have a problem with hiring her with commissions. I have a problem with the contract in itself, okay? All weekend, I thought about it and thought about it, talked to Randy a couple of times. I'm asking that we go back and try to do this a different way. And if you can't do that, I have to wonder why we can't at least do that, okay?
Well, what is it that you want different in this contract?
I'd like it to be on a job by job. She brings us a piece of business, and if it's secured, we pay her. I don't think that's totally unreasonable. You know, Lawrence is right on another issue. It is city money, and it is a political year. And I'm not running for anything, but some of you guys are. So I think she's right. It's something you should consider. But I'm not a negative person. I have worked very hard, diligently for redevelopment. And I'm totally offended by the comments that he made. Well, and I'm gonna say that over and over until I get an apology.
Well, no, then you can.
And then I'm done, Tony.
You can look for that outside.
No, I'm done.
Mr. Snyder, you'll be the last one. Make it quick, please.
Tom Snyder, live on down the street. I'm hearing all this chatter about this supposed contract. All of us are sitting out here. We don't have any contract. So can we see the contract, what you're talking about?
Well, if we vote on it and it passes, anybody can see it.
No, why can't we see it right now?
Here, Tom, you want to see it? Right here it is. There. It's not a hidden thing. You could have gotten it any time you wanted to if you really want to see it. There it is. There.
How could we get it when there was a closed
meeting? Because these are the ones that are voting on it, Tom.
But it doesn't matter.
We can't make out 5,000 copies and hand them out door to door to people. Come on. If you were interested in a copy of that contract, you've been around here long enough. You could have come up and said, Mr. Messmore, can you have me a copy for me? We cannot deal them out to everybody.
I'm hearing all this chatter that this isn't right and this isn't right and this has got this in it. We don't know what you're talking about.
Well, I'm sorry for that, but...
So you had a closed meeting and it said contract negotiations. Negotiations is between two parties, and there wasn't two parties as I understand it in this meeting.
I don't know what I'm allowed to say about that meeting, what we did in that meeting or not. There's a contract presented to us, and we met to see if we were going to accept that contract or not, and if not, we were going to change it. And we sent back the changes, which I thought everybody liked, and now this contract's here. Now you know what happened. So that's a contract negotiation.
Thank you.
Actually, that's all we did was the contract.
Right.
I agree.
Now, where do we go from here? Board?
I put a motion out.
And make your motion exact to the T, please.
I made a motion that we empower Mr. Messmore to go back and renegotiate with her to empower him to negotiate with her, to negotiate a project-by-project approach rather than a contract as written for a long term. So we'll pay as we go.
So you do not want to pay the monthly amount then?
That's correct.
You got that, Kelly?
I have it, yep.
I have a motion by Dennis to go back and renegotiate project by project, which this one will not accept. We're going to lose a big one. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Yes, second by Paul. All in favor?
Aye.
I think it.
You do a roll call vote, please.
All right, Member Owen Cross.
Yes.
Member Randy Abner.
Be done.
Yes.
Yes.
Dennis. Paul.
Yes.
Okay.
I hope I said it right.
But Dennis, could we add something?
Sure. No, wait a minute. That motion
Good,
passed.
Good.
Now.
Can we add a little something to that? Can we have her come down and negotiate with us?
Well, if Brian's comfortable with that, that's fine. If
and
not,
our
I
attorney
trust
here
Brian
with
to
us?
do the negotiating. This isn't about Brian's negotiating skills.
No,
It's about what
no,
we
I
ended up with.
understand. I understand.
Could you give us some input on that, Brian?
Would that be done?
I just came for a vote, up or down, so I know which way to go.
Okay.
I will give you an input on it. There won't be no negotiations. She won't come down. It's a dead duck.
Well, let's find out.
Uh,
We just voted on that.
So,
Is that negative?
I'll be negative. It's a greatly missed opportunity is what I think
Will
it
you
is.
check
But
with her?
you guys
She will.
voted it.
Made the motion to vote, all
Yeah.
All right. Now, moving on to the rest of the new business. I'm sorry, Brian, but I didn't move the 104 East High Street exterior repair up there.
Thank you.
Might I say something?
Sure. Mr. Cross.
For me, and I'm trying to look everybody in their eyes, I do not go along with backdoor business meetings. If you want to know something from me, ask me and I will tell you. I will talk to you straight up. I will not do anything that is unlawful, anything that isn't done right. I will do it decently and in order. Okay? So make it up in your mind right now from me. I will do what is right for the city of Lawrenceburg. Not what I think, not what I feel, what is right. If you want to know something, rather than pick it up from the sidelines and from the street, Paul, and to anyone else, come ask me, and I will tell you the truth. If you ask me right now and I knew you were going to die, I would tell you straight up. Okay, that's the way I do things.
Yep.
I don't talk behind anybody's back. I am a man that will stand up and tell you that it's right or it's wrong. I have no time. Okay? So never think that Owen Cross will do something behind your back. Never. Your dad, if he asked, we were talking a while ago, if he's got anything he wants to say to you or to you or to you, he better say it himself. Because I don't talk for anybody. In fact, I will tell you, Messmore has something he wants to say about you, but he keeps saying it to me. I think you ought to be man enough to come to you and say it to you. I kind of got heated about it because I don't do things that way. And anybody knows me, anybody knows anything about me, I will reckon with you. I will do things decently in order. If I got something to say, I'll come to you and say it. I won't say it behind your back. And it's not what you say to me, it's how you say it to me that will make this thing what it is. I apologize to anyone if I said it wrong, but that's just the way I am. I don't take credit for things I don't do. If we do this thing wrong, I will stand up and say, we did it wrong. Okay? And if just like your dad, he said, you go east and I'll go west. We might be doing the things the same way. We're just going about it differently. And once we come to our senses, you're right. I did it wrong. That's me. I apologize, and I usually say quiet, but
I'd like to answer.
Let's not go into all this, Paul. Please, no. There ain't no answering to it, Paul. No, you're out of order. Stop. We've had enough
I
of this.
had a meeting with the mayor Thursday, 9 o'clock in the morning.
Everyone come to another redevelopment meeting. Sit down.
I did more for redevelopment than anybody in this town. I quit working, I quit building things so that I could come to these meetings and do my part. Now, I want to answer Olin because he was good enough to look me in the eye and tell me what he thought. The reason why I had to do this at this meeting tonight, I had a meeting with the mayor Thursday. He had some things he wanted to tell me, and I said, do you have 10 minutes for me? Paul, I got to be at a meeting, and I'll try to get a hold of you in the next 2 days. Guess what? The next 2 days, I never got a call. When I left that meeting, I wanted a call because this was one of the topics I wanted to talk about. But no, I didn't get my chance. And what that means to me is that I don't know how many people were on his schedule from 9 o'clock Thursday to all day Friday, but every one of them was more important than me.
But that don't have a darn thing to do with us.
It's got a lot to do with the reason why.
Not your mayor meetings.
Well, we haven't worked at a team for quite a while. Okay. And personally, I think that you guys have done a tremendous job on redevelopment. I trust your decisions. You haven't passed out money freely. You've made people do what they said they were going to do in the contracts. Brian, you've been a big part of that. We know we might have $2 million in the bank, but there's a whole lot of money that's been pledged, and they haven't got it yet because you guys have been keeping an eye out and making sure that what they have to do to get that money gets done, which has never been done in the past. Never. That's due to our lawyer, that's due to the guy that's running the show, and that's due to you guys. So I sit around in a council meeting, and we all got bragged on. Dale, you bragged on us, and I really feel like you mean it. Don't brag on me and then take all my judgments and decision-making possibilities away from me. We are good enough to do this job on our own. We don't need to bring somebody else in. And as far as the election year stuff goes, we're either going to sink or swim as a team. We've made good decisions until now, and we can keep making good decisions.
I agree. Okay. Where were we? 104 East High Street
agree.
exterior repair recommendations. This is the building next to the new park, guys. It's got the temporary things set in the wall.
Yeah, I want to bring, Lisa, Ryan. If you guys remember, 140 East High, we've talked about the exterior of the building. We did a temporary emergency repair during construction.
Row house.
The row house, yeah, thank you, Dennis. And there was a recommendation in one of our redevelopment commission meetings that we look at the repair on that wall for two reasons. One, the construction that's going on, we needed to get it done and out of the way prior to the work around the stage. We pretty much addressed the safety on the quick fix, but the work around the stage, and we also had a contractor on site who could help us manage the project for schedule and budget. So we have gotten a scope of work, and I'll let you want to explain that? Yeah, but the bottom line is I'm looking for a recommendation of the board tonight to proceed for bids, to go out for bids on the repair
Is that
of the
the
wall.
thing that's in our packet, the recommendation?
Yes, it should be.
Okay.
It's pretty limited, I think, the discussion.
Aris Engineering? Ars, okay.
Yeah. So Lisa Ruhlman with Maxwell Construction. RC Engineering came out after their initial look and did another review of the building. Their review included exterior repair recommendations and then interior repair recommendations. The exterior repair recommendations are basically to like the stucco that's out there is coming off, and so the recommendation is I can get into all the details if you guys like that, but it's to remove the stucco and do some tuck pointing on the brick. This is on the face of it's the west side of the building that faces the park, and to put up an EFIS facade. Additionally, there's some additional work with their stars that hold the layers of brick together, so there's some adjustment to those, and so that's an exterior recommendation. The interior is pretty involved, and it would depend upon what the use of the building would ultimately be. The report, assuming you guys have that, gets into all of the levels, the first, second, third floors, and what changes could be done there to address the structural concerns for a long-term solution. And so I think today we just, am I right? We want to talk about the exterior.
Well, I have a question for her and you. Based on this, and the accounting side of me says, and based on their bill to do this, which we're going to authorize to pay later, do you have any idea what this may cost us if we implement this? Or am I way too early?
Yeah.
No, I'm trying to get some kind of a handle on it. I mean,
What we're asking for is to be able to go out and get pricing to bring back to you
so
guys. Right.
just hold my water and you'll get it, right?
Right.
Got it.
Yeah.
We can turn it down if it's too high. We can turn it down.
Right.
Yeah, no, I just was, if you knew, you know.
Yeah. And ultimately, like if you look at the report, the interior work is a lot more extensive than the exterior, obviously. But
Okay.
you're welcome.
So are you going out for a quote for the interior and the exterior, or just the exterior?
Just the
It's
exterior.
just outside.
Okay, yeah. All right. So I need a motion to.
I'll make a motion to go forward with that recommendation
And I'll second.
from Maxwell.
I'll second his motion, Tony.
First by Dennis, and second by Randy. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passed.
Thank you.
$5,000, that's it.
Find out when they bring the bid. Bring prices.
And as referenced, the interior, we do have quite a lengthy report on that, and I think that will serve us well when it comes to understanding, what possible incentives may be in place for the renovation of the row house for a business.
Build out.
So I think it's helpful information in terms of what we would need to know to prepare for negotiations with a potential prospect.
I think that's it, bud.
That's it for me for now, right?
Sit down.
Yeah.
You're causing too much trouble.
More.
No, I don't mind it. I enjoy working here. I do my best to try to bring consensus items in a spirit of cooperation to meetings, get a vote and go home and start over again tomorrow, so.
Well, since Mr. Nussmore opened it, can I make a comment?
Okay.
A nice one?
Be nice.
Not a
Be
negative
nice.
one? Not a negative one? I just want to say, because it's been a little heated in here, Kelly Brookbank is part of the staff, Brian's staff, our staff, and Brian together have been an asset to redevelopment, a big asset. Kelly's been a big asset to Brian and a big asset to us. And she doesn't hear that often from us. I'm sure she hears it more from Brian, but I just want to thank both of them that it's challenging. We're going forward. We'll get through this if you can keep the negative people down. So.
You had to throw that in there.
Oh, whatever. You get kicked in, you know what? It's like, okay, I'm done.
Moving on to old business. Mr. Chad Jewett, are you sure you want to come up here?
I don't know.
That didn't
I've
scare
gave
you
you all
nothing,
some prints there I got from Maxwell. I'm interested in building some apartments, affordable housing in Lawrenceburg. I need some help from Lawrenceburg. And that's my idea. There's even a floor plan.
Okay. All right, I'll throw a few things in here. Mr. Jewett came to me months ago, and he's been trying to get into the redevelopment. He would like to build some affordable housing apartments, and it's going to be at the old Smar place, Smar grocery store. And what he would like to do, build 2 apartment buildings on the closer part to the adult center, and then for us to not sell the front part, make it a phase 2. Then he'll put 2 more apartments in at a later date.
That would be these blocks here.
Yeah, these are the ones he's going to put in now
and holdings.
into the future. So it'd be like phase 1, phase 2. So it's more.
Front Street?
Yes.
Okay.
So it's more feasible for him. I mean, he's willing to put money in. He just wants to know if there's any interest in this board helping him. Now, I will say one thing, guys. This area is not in our TIF area, but it will be in our TIF area. I think they're working on that right now, enlarging the TIF area. So you could even TIF it out in order to help.
So it's 12 2-bedrooms and 4 3-bedrooms.
Per building.
Per building, and that's 2 buildings.
Yes.
At this time.
Mm-hmm.
Have you gone as far as possible cost
Per
apartment?
I made some changes. I added split units instead of through the wall because it's more affordable for the tenants. So it's going to be a little more. I've heard anywhere between 75 and 82, and that's just a ballpark per unit.
You got anybody from Maxwell here to help you? I see
the
3 of them.
Blades just
I see
left.
3 of them sitting there.
Alyssa just left. They're in trouble.
Well, I mean, I think we talked around 80, but
Chad's right. I mean, we priced some
they
close and similar scope, and so we
no promising numbers, but rough, yeah.
square footage and, site logistics and everything else. Figuring out the fine details.
Go ahead.
Me too.
How many stories is this?
2.
2-story. So what's your total square footage so we can kind of play with numbers?
It's on that. I think it's 7940 per floor.
7640.
It's on that print there.
Trying to calculate this out. No, I'm trying to figure out what it costs. Okay.
4% second
not granting nothing. If it's in, when we put in TIF area, we could TIF it out. How about, I mean, it's just information right now. How about we just kind of send him to work with Brian and get some figures and.
I'm all open. That's, if Brian's cooperative
we
with
done?
that, that's fine.
Brian, you're a busy man.
So we need a motion for that, or?
No.
All right, our lawyer says no.
We don't need it?
So, no.
Yes, sir.
Huh?
Yes, sir.
Okay, we don't need a motion. So if you would get with Brian, work with him, get your figures down, and Brian look into when the TIF area is gonna be ready for it, to see if we could do TIF maybe.
Okay.
As long as Mr. Seymour doesn't say anything about that.
Still poking the bear.
Okay,
All right, so
it was
Still poking the bear.
Brian, you take care of him and get with him, please.
On that note, if I may, I call it the Durbin Plaza. That's what I remember. I think perhaps a work session might be in order for us to take a look at some of the properties that we haven't been focused on and make sure we still agree on the highest and best use
Purpose.
that's been identified historically, that we've kind of followed along with, and make sure we're still all on the same page. So that, so that people who are interested in participating in a public-private partnership know, for sure what direction we're leaning. On the Maple Street property, we've discussed, we've been trying senior housing. It was a residential piece of property. And we're having trouble with that. And, Mike had mentioned a previous interest. So, I mean, if we're to that point where we're struggling with residential, then we need to have a work session and hammer that out and decide if we want to change the use of that and, put it to work for us. So, I think it's
We could have a work
fair
session
question.
for both properties.
I think that, in addition to that, Tony referenced the TIF map. We discussed in the council session that there's a few properties directly adjacent to the current TIF map that are not included, which we refer to the Scudder Thomas property, the Union Hall parking lot on the other side, would be the Durbin Plaza. There are just some properties that kind of make sense now that in order to do that, we as the Redevelopment Commission would have to begin the process of modification to our current TIF, which is a process. So I think that if we're going to do that, the outcome of that work session I'm going to suggest in November is to agree on what those expansion areas are and begin the process of identifying those by parcel and beginning to engage in the appropriate council to get that accomplished. And
Great. So is everybody all right with the work session?
we'll work that out for you.
Set that up. Okay. Main Street update. Do you have anything else, Mr. Missmore? Or are you going to do the Main Street update?
Well, I, as usual, stand here saying that the Main Street update has been provided. Main Street is joyfully in attendance and would be glad to
That's Hannah's job.
answer any questions that you might have. On occasion we have, I'll throw this in, on occasion, our first time home buy, new home, we have different scenarios sometimes. Sometimes back in the olden days, I guess it was a little easier. It was mostly local banks and everybody could kind of figure it out, but we have some banks from other communities and people need sometimes this assistance as a security to get things moving. We have a developer here who has a bank appraised value of a $242,000 home, and the 10% of that, which would be, don't make me do the real close math, but about $24,000. What we think we should do is supply that on the front end to help secure the construction loan with clawbacks and restrictions and securities on our money so that in the event there was a failure of any kind, that our money would be secure. You know, we've done this at closing before. We've done it on the front side before. This is not totally out of the norm, but Main Street felt like that we should make sure that you knew how we were approaching this particular
How does any of that affect their loaning abilities, their borrowing abilities at the banks?
Ours?
No, theirs, the prospective person.
I believe that the you know, pledging, or not pledging, but, you know, securing the money up front helps facilitate and expedites the construction loan approval process.
This is on housing.
Yes.
So do you want to roll into the same conversation, our committee meeting?
Not until I get down to 300 Margaret Street.
Okay, we'll do it then. Okay.
Yeah, I'm just,
You know where
I'm
I'm
just
going,
informing
right?
the board of how we're handling this.
All right.
We've talked about it at length. We believe it is the
But you
most
know where I'm
consistent.
at, so.
And unless there are any pushback from the board members, we'll continue in that path.
Any questions? Nope. 619 St. Clair Street update.
Okay, 619 St. Clair, you had authorized me to offer $25,000 for that property. I'm just letting you know that that property has a sale pending. It may be completely sold by now, but I was unable to make any progress on that particular property. Just so you know.
All right. Next.
And again, some of this we've already talked about, but I just want to try to keep people up to date on several.
Maynard Dean Collins.
All right, just a quick update. The development agreement is close. They're still working on some of the language, obviously, to protect our interest, our investment in that project. Once that agreement has been finalized, obviously, it will go to council and the Conservancy District, not necessarily in that order, but just to make sure that both parties agree, and they're expected to have that development agreement ready by November 1st.
Could we get a quick update on drilling over on the site, please?
Soil update, next on my list. The geo work has been...
Doesn't say that on here.
Yeah, well, I have crib notes here, man.
Got a different list, okay.
Yeah. So the geo work has been complete. They're completed their diggings and test site review. What they're waiting on are the construction recommendations. And that would be largely, you know, what are the recommendations for footers and foundations for that type of construction.
From their architect's side.
Yeah, so once they have that, then we'll know where we're at in terms of budget, you know, projected budget and actual budget.
Effects on the levy.
I think the Conservancy District is you know, primarily the keeper of that concern, and what I know...
I said we're not letting him back up there.
Yeah, well, I just want to make, you know, sure that, you know, it's fair, it's their property, it's their responsibility. They are very up to date on what's going on. I do know that the construction is minimal impact. They're not going into the levee whatsoever. They're in the maintenance area. They realize that, you know, they're fairly close to a stairway that leads to the levee that the residents could use to access the levee trail. I think they would like to insert a page that, you know, could maybe find some way to have a pedestrian access point from their plaza level to the levee, but, you know, I don't believe it's a showstopper, but I think it's something that we'd like the ability to say, hey, what do you think about this, with minimal impact? So very little impact at all on the levee.
For bicycles.
Yeah.
It truly is.
Yeah.
All done?
Unless you have
I got no
another
other
shot to
questions.
take. Not you.
8th Street and 359 Arch Street.
Okay, if you remember, those are properties that we acquired, and we have demoed those. They are complete minus a couple property improvements.
fencing at the 350 line yet to be put up?
What's that, Mario?
Fencing in the rear, back by the alleyway.
That's
between the
straightened out? Is that straightened out?
It's lined up. We have to install the fencing yet.
I thought there was a property issue there.
Now, we've got all the surveys done and completed.
Okay, we're clean.
Yeah.
Looks pretty good.
And all the alignment's done, we just have to install the.
It looks nice.
Really does.
Marketing package.
Are you?
Any other
I'm just
questions?
waiting on you, Mr.
Okay.
Chairman.
I'm just kind of spacing out here.
Okay, that's okay. Okay, you have in your packets a marketing package for the city of Lawrenceburg, and if you remember, we authorized a $5,000 expenditure to go down this path and try to create some marketing, some literature, some exposure materials for us to use when we're talking about our downtown area. I'm not going to go into great detail with this. You have a copy, but I would like to highlight a couple areas that I think provide some example of the value in this document. It talks about Lawrenceburg, you know, small town charm, have big city amenities. It talks about you know, our population. It talks about the fact that there are 4.5 million visitors to our community in a year, 15 miles from the airport. And we focused in on a 30-mile radius because that seemed to give us the best kind of demographics that you could share with the potential investor. So, you know, 1.5 million people within that 30-mile radius. We have access. I thought this was a kind of a cool piece too. We have access, you know, unparalleled. We call it unparalleled access to college and universities within a 30-mile radius. Cincinnati, Miami, Northern Kentucky. Obviously, we have our own Ivy Tech, Xavier, Cincinnati State. But you know, when people are choosing to locate here or live in our community and in around our community, even within the county or other of our nearby cities, knowing that there's this kind of access close to that community is an advantage for them, for us, and for them to have and available to them during those discussions. We talk about world-class regional attractions. Obviously, we have our own, the Speedway, casino, and ski slopes. But we also reference Creation Museum, Turfway Park, ballparks downtown, the zoo, NASCAR, just so people, again, get a flavor that, you know, Lawrenceburg is really in a nice little spot and a great place to visit, great community to live in, and you still have access to a lot of these things that people may not right off the bat realize. A couple other quick examples. Obviously, we focused on the downtown area.
I know what you're thinking.
Yeah. Yeah, well.
Down in the wash.
Yeah.
They've driven you to.
It will.
All right, let's get back on it. So we focused on the downtown. Obviously, we have pictures of our parklets and people wandering around. We have pictures of our retail shops. And if anybody would like to see this, they're more than welcome to have a look at it. It's still in process. We said 60% complete. The partnership's has offered to take a stab at this in the morning and give some feedback. I've invited Dennis because he's been helping a little bit on some of the pre-work on this. So we highlight our downtown shops, what kind they are, what's in there. We highlight our festivals and party in the streets to give people an idea of the folks that we bring downtown and what there is to do. Obviously, our civic parks and trails, things that, you know, people would find interesting and attractive to want to come and visit and or stay and live. We also talk about our investment in our downtown area, Ivy Tech Convention Center. We note that we've invested $100 million in the downtown area, probably a little more than that since 2010. We also noted that we are about the health care that's available in our community and around our community so that people, again, have an idea of where Lawrenceburg is and how close it can be and how much access there is or are to those kinds of things.
It's a good start.
Yeah.
I mean, it's good.
I think it's coming together, and the pictures.
Anybody want to see it? I'll put mine
The
up here.
pictures online and in the high quality res are phenomenal. These are obviously out of the copier and
Right.
aren't as flashy as they.
How does the finished product, do you see the finished product? Is it in a booklet or is it like this?
Well, it's designed to be used in multiple ways, but it would primarily be in a booklet. But you know, depending on who you were talking to, who you were, kind of venue you were in, you could pull out a page on local attractions.
Well, one of its applications would be to go with an RFP.
Exactly.
One of the sources.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, this was a part of the regional piece, to have this in conjunction with that. So, and this is the part that we were doing. Have to go back there.
So you guys go through that and get any ideas, give them a call.
Yeah, if you have ideas, please write on that page, get it to Kelly or I, and we will stick that in the stack for review. Hoping to meet tomorrow with the Downtown Partnership. I know we are, to try to do a collaboration on it, and I'm hoping late this week, Wednesday or Thursday morning late, to get Lewis on the phone and try to get another update by the end of Friday, because he's leaving town next week. So, but that'll be difficult, but we'll give it a shot.
All righty. Moving on. Park property utility hookups.
Yeah, just as a reminder, we've been working closely with our utility providers, our own and external, to make sure that and we've had this discussion, the properties around the park that we own have all the utilities supplied to them, so that they're ready to go and we don't have to dig up what we already dug up again. So, and we've done I think I got everything. I think we got everything there. So it's all lined out. So I think the gas and phone were the last two to go through. So, and so in one of the.
It'll be all their fault anyway, Brian.
Well,
Blows up.
yeah. Well, I won't throw them under the bus.
Did you get all the mobile food truck hookups too?
I think, yeah. Yeah. So it's really it's a nice project. I mean, I think.
Hey, Brian.
There's some real.
By the
value
way,
there for us.
the choice to use the brick that they used on the green room, utility room, bathroom, very nice. Matches the parking garage. It goes away when you look at it. It's really nice. Good choice.
And including in that will probably be some patching expenses that the bill will probably come to redevelopment for the redevelopment cuts in the blacktop. I don't know that our annual budget for crack sealing and repair will cover everything, so we'll have some. The primary purpose of sharing this with you now is to remind you that you'll see a few bills come through that are associated with these activities.
Are they still open? The asphalt?
Yes.
Have gravel and
Paving company, Mario, is what he's asking. The paving company's still open, hot mix.
right now they
hot
are,
mix.
yes.
All righty.
I was reminded, we have located locations for grease traps for every property. We haven't pulled the trigger on putting grease traps in. The locations are all outside of the park surface, and the discussions that I've had, it might be a good idea to put in, but if you're putting in the right size or big enough, that's not what I do. I don't know. I do know that we've located places for those grease traps. I know Mike's not here tonight, but Mike and Andy relayed those out again last week.
Curiosity, the 140 East.
Yeah.
Where could you possibly put that one?
In the back.
Where it falls off or before it falls off? The property back there. Just curious.
It's in the back of the building.
Okay.
Yeah. I believe that there is a sewer main that goes down New Street.
Yeah. Yeah, it's close to it.
Yeah. So, again, just reminding the board that we are seeing some associated expenses with those activities. Wouldn't want to surprise you.
All right, 300 Margaret.
Y'all still with me? All right.
You're getting kind of boring.
All right. 300 Margaret. You will remember that this is one that we've appraised, advertised, waited the 30 days, of which period we have agonized over about why it takes so long. But in that note, we met the construction, our small construction committee met and decided that we would go ahead and put this out for bid in the local papers for RFPs. And I would also contact all the folks that have expressed interest in those lots and the surrounding areas. And the evaluation, not limited to square feet, percent brick, size of front porch, fit and finish, landscaping, size of the garage. I said square footage, yeah, fit and finish. So we would value those things and in a competitive situation make a determination what we think fits best within and fits the character of that neighborhood. Did I say that right?
Absolutely.
Okay. All right. So with your approval, vote, or nod of the head, I will proceed with 300 Margaret, and I will also let you know that the double lot that has been surveyed is complete. That's catty corner to 300 Margaret. That's on Arch and Margaret. With me?
It's on the west side of Arch Street.
We can also advertise that. The process we've been following is for the disposal of real property. The fact that we want to get a completed product out of that, we can go directly to an RFP on that property once we have an appraisal on it.
Okay.
We don't have to sell it as a standalone piece of property.
Yeah, if you got, pardon me, if you guys are comfortable with that approach, I think we can at least discuss it. And Mr. Seymour Jr. brought up, just different ways to get property, one, turned around quicker, but the reason that the RFP would be a good option is because that's more in line with what we're really doing, right? So the statutes are intended to just cover property that we just happen to own and we want to sell to anyone. But that's not what's really happening. We are identifying this property from the outset as either a lot that would be demoed for a new building, or what I would like to see more of, and I know we've talked about it, we haven't really had those opportunities come up yet, but lots that are appropriate for rehabilitation and to preserve our historic structures. We can RFP those to have our guidelines, no occupancy until certificate of occupancy, until it's green tagged, and that the landscaping must be done, that the materials must be done to your exact specifications, really just to let you guys write these up however you see fit.
Okay, so if he didn't lose you there.
We did.
Okay, well, let's go back to the 300 Margaret and it doesn't have an address because it depends on where the front door and the mailbox is, I guess. So those of you who have that experience, and so it won't be identified with an address until an individual determines if they want their house facing east or south. So with your permission, we will proceed with the advertisement RFP for both of those pieces of property and move forward in that fashion.
After the appraisals on the lot.
Yeah, I do have to get it appraised.
I have a motion by Dennis. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Alan. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passed.
Didn't we talk about with our committee also about the banking issue, that we get from the bank and a value?
Yeah, we did, and it,
Throw that into the
yeah,
conversation.
I think I did some little banking research, and
okay.
And I think that's a lot of work, and not everybody's gonna wanna jump and do a formal appraisal on a plan that may or may not be, may not come to fruition. So,
Well, I'm comfortable either way on it.
Right.
It's just that it came up in our
well,
meeting.
that's the feedback I got, and I'm with you. I think there's enough
We're fine.
evaluation criteria that, we can divide
You've
square
added
feet.
plenty to cover it.
Yeah.
Okay, hearing no more old business.
That's all I got.
All right, we'll move on to approval of claims once properly certified. Have a motion?
It's too much money for me to put it forward. So moved, Tony.
Motion by Dennis, I have a second. Second by Alan. All in favor?
Aye.
Pay the claims. I dread this one. Comments from audience. You guys should be commented out.
What you gotta do?
I got only one other thing. Mr. Mario,
Yes, sir.
when do we get our doggone sidewalk trees?
Mr. Clark gonna need the bus on this one.
Both hands, huh?
They were planting them in the fall. It's fall. I'm just warning you for when it comes to the council meeting.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
Hearing no comments from the audience, I'll take a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Bottom again, all in favor? Should have joined, I can go home and take my belly out.
What's wrong?
Really?
No worries.
Hold on, I need to be back some.
Keep them going.
I'll keep them.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Amy,